Hi and welcome to today's tutorial. Now this video is on the making of this queen and princess that bustier blouse. I know this is something you would love to watch, so please stay tuned. And if you're new to my channel, thank you so much for stopping by. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, to share and to like within your community. Now let's get into the drafting proper. So on my pattern paper here, I've drafted out some basic measurements. From this point to this point is my neck width of 3 inches, and then half of my shoulder measurement. I came down by 1 inch for my shoulder slant, and then from this point is my armhole depth. To calculate for your armhole depth, all you need to do is get your round bust measurements divided by 6, and whatever you get, you add 1.5 inches to it. This is the most accurate way of getting a perfect armhole depth. Now this point is my chest line, this is my bust point, this is my under bust, waistline, and 1 inch allowance at the bottom. Now on this armhole line, I'm going to be doing something very basic because we know the front armhole is usually deeper than the back armhole. Okay, so I'm trying to get the midpoint of my armhole, and after getting the midpoint, I'm just going to go in by half of an inch, just like this. And then on my chest line, I'm going to be taking 1/4 of my round bust measurement, which is 9 inches, and I'll be connecting the three dots together. Now on my bust point, I'm going to be taking half of my nipple to nipple measurements. But before I do that, please note that I am imputing all my sewing allowances on this pattern paper. So once I cut out this pattern paper, I will cut the exact thing on my fabric. So half of my bust point measurement, nipple to nipple measurement is 3.5 inches. I'll need half of an inch for stitching allowance, so I'm marking on 4 inch. At the under bust, I'm just going to minus half of an inch of whatever I have on my bust point. So at the under bust, I'm marking 3.5 inches. I'm also marking 3.5 inches at the allowance area, and I will just square this out. Now for the underbust tightening on this side, this is for a medium size. I'm going to be going out by 2 inches. So for a plus size, you can use 2.5 or 3 inches. I'm also taking that 2 inches at the bottom of the allowance area, and I will rule this line. Now to create a bust curve, I'm going to be coming down by 1 inch from my bust point, and this is because I don't want the curve to get to my bust point. I don't want it too sharp. And then I'm just going to tilt my curve rule. You don't want your curve to be too deep, okay? So just watch the way I'm tilting my curve. So you just want it to be as natural as possible, and then you can connect to the 1 inch that you came down under by. Moving forward now on our armhole area. Now on our armhole area, okay, I'm going to be measuring what I have as my armhole curve. And then measuring this out, you just want to be as as gentle as possible. I'm measuring this for accuracy, so I have like about 8.25 inches. So now I'm going to get half the midpoint of 8.25, which is what I'm marking right now. And from this new mark, I'm going to be connecting it to the nipple to nipple measurement on my bust point. Now on this new mark, okay, I'm going to split or share 1.5 inches between this new mark that I made. So it's not a constant. You can split 2 inches, okay, but I want to share 1.5 inches. So that's a 3/4 inch between the new curve that I made. And from this bust point, I'm just going to go up by 1 inch. Okay, so that when I'm connecting my curves, it doesn't get to my bust point. So I'm connecting from this 3/4 inch that I came up by, and I'm also connecting the 3/4 inch that I came down by. As you can see, our princess dart is taking shape. The next thing is just to make sure that you blend out all the sharp edges. So now on the armhole line, you're just going to measure out the that measurements that you have here. I have 1.5 inches. I'm now going to extend this armhole by 1.5 inches. So if the dart measurement you took was 2 inches, then you'll extend this line by 2 inches. And then on the chest line, I'm now going to retake some measurements. So a quarter of my bust measurement, which is 9 inches, I'm imputing that here. And then whatever you have as your dart intake, you would replace that. So I'm replacing the 1.5 inches, and I'm also adding my stitching allowances of 2.5 inches. Now at the under bust, we'll also be replicating the same thing. I'm taking a quarter of my under bust measurements, which is 7.25 inches, and then you measure whatever dart opening you have here. This is 2 inches. I'm going to replace that 2 inches right here, and I'm also going to be adding my sewing allowances. So whatever I have here at the under bust area, I'm also going to be inputting that at the allowance area at the bottom of my pattern paper. And I will just spread this out. At this, so I'm just shading off this part so that you know it won't be needed. At this point, I realized that I didn't connect my, like, create a new armhole curve. So please create it. Now, working on the Queen Anne area, so depending on how deep you want your opening to be, just work with whatever figure you want. But for me, I'm going to be using a depth of 5.5 inches, and from that 5.5 inches point, I'm going to be going in by 4 inches. So you determine how deep and how wide you want your Queen Anne opening to be. So from this 3 inches, I'm going to connect it to the 4 inches mark. And so I want this Queen Anne to have some sort of sweetheart neckline, right? So I'm going down, okay, from the top of my pattern paper, and I'm marking 7.5 inches, and I'm just going to use my curve to connect it this way. Don't forget to subscribe, guys. And that's it for our Queen Anne neckline. And so now we can proceed to cutting this out. At this point, I realized that I hadn't connected my or created my new armhole to the 1.5 inches mark that I extended this pattern paper. So that's what I'm doing right now. Please don't make the same mistakes like I did, guys. And this is just to show you that, yeah, there are behind the scene mistakes. It's not also perfect when recording these tutorials. So I've gone ahead to create my new armhole, and I will proceed to cutting again. Now working on our back pattern, It's important to note that usually the back pattern is at least 1 inch, 1.5 inches, or even 2 inches shorter than the front pattern. This all depends on your client's actual shoulder to back measurement, but this pattern is 1 inch shorter than the front pattern. So I have my basic measurements here: my neck width, my half of my shoulder slope, my armhole, okay, and all the other basic measurements. So from this start point, I'm going to be coming down by 1 inch, and this is for my neck depth, and I'm just going to be connecting it to the 3 inch neck wideness. Now, to eliminate zipper bulge, this is something that works for me. Okay, from this point here, from the start of the 1.5 inches zipper allowance, I'm just going to mark 1 inch and connect it up to the neck depth. So you just want to place your ruler the way I'm doing. You go in by 1 inch and you connect it from 1 inch to nothing at the top. So this is going to be the start of our new zipper allowance. So because I've taken in 1 inch already out of 1.5 inch, I have to replace that 1 inch. So I'm going to go in again to remeasure 1.5 inches from the red marker. Okay, from the start of the red marker, which is what I am doing. And then I will connect it to this point. So already, as you can see, our zipper allowance is already slanted into the body of your outfit. So it starts up nice from the nape of the neck and then it goes deep into your waistline. This is an amazing way of eliminating zipper bulge. So I'm just marking this out so you know that it's not needed. Now this is our new zipper allowance. So now I'll be inputting my other measurements. So please note where I'm placing my measuring tape, okay? At the start of this red marker, that's where I'm placing my measuring tape. So I'm going to take a quarter of my bust measurement, which is 9 inches, and I'm also going to be adding all my stitching allowances. I'm also doing the same thing at the waistline, a quarter of my waist measurement, and also all my sewing allowances. And of course, I will just connect this. And then at this point, you also want to create your armhole curl for the back pattern. And that's it, guys, for the back pattern. We'll just proceed to cutting this out. Now these are our patterns, the front and the back piece. There's one manipulation we need to do on the front pattern, so I'll just move this back piece aside. Now if you attach these pieces, like if your actual fabric, if you attach them like this, at the end of the day, this part of your fabric will be like draping, it will be too long and it will look awkward. So what you need to do on this side of the fabric is to go up by 1 inch and connect it to this dart leg here, and you will take it off. So if you're drafting your pattern paper, you can do this first on your pattern paper, or even if you're drafting it directly on your fabric, you can also do this as well on your fabric. It works either ways. So I'm just cutting this off. And now when you do this and then you attach both sides of your fabric together, you find out that they are both equal in length by the side. Okay, and it will also match up with the length of your back piece. So now we can actually cut this out on our fabric. So this is what it looks like on our fabric. You want to note that there are no allowances whatsoever on this side because I've added all the allowances to my right. So the only allowances here are on the Queen Anne and then the shoulder joining, as well for the back pattern, the neck and the shoulder joining. Because I don't want this video to be too bulky, the next tutorial I'll be uploading will be on the actual joining of all of these pieces. So thank you guys so much. I hope this tutorial was very useful on how to cut a princess that bustier with a Queen Anne neckline. Don't forget to share, like and subscribe till my next video. Bye.